Hi, this is Dr. Mark Sell from the YouTube channel Therapy for the Heart, and it is Tuesday. I'm right on time, even early. The early bird gets the worm, so good morning. I'm going to talk on a continuation of the last time that we were talking about the box, and I said I would give some examples of myself personally, about what I did, how I was in the box. I broke out of it, and when I was thinking about this, I was going to talk, fairly spontaneously today, which I've tried to do lately, and so I have a few notes here. But when I thought about that, well, what is it about I wanted to do it spontaneously. I don't want structure, and well, you need structure. You need notes. You need people read it off platforms when they talk, and one time I really screwed myself up because I was giving a talk at Washington Metropolitan Center for Mental Health, and it was about many years ago, and so one of my friends said, better not to have any notes, And somebody said, well, you should have some notes. And then some other people said, well, you could read a little paper, make a little paper. So I chose not to have any notes. And by the time I was maybe, 5-6 minutes into what I had to say, the moderator said, I'm sorry, your time is up right now. So talk about shame. I kicked myself for not really preparing more at that time. So that was one of my memories of that's a box of shame, because I had a lot of shame. We talked about how shame can box you in, the feelings of shame. I think I kicked myself up and down and all around for maybe quite some time after that memory. But I still went back. I kept presenting, and that's part of how you break out of the box. You don't give up. You don't let fear and shame. I said I was going to talk about how you get out, but I said, that's what I said, and I'm going to do it today. But how you get out of that is to keep fighting. I'm a fighter. I don't quit, stay down, I get punched and I get back up, and that's what you have to do. I have to do in life. Because if I lie down and stay down every time I felt like not getting up, I wouldn't be here this morning. I didn't feel like getting up this morning. I just want to stay there in bed and put a little more hour on the timer, or half an hour, and make it a little bit longer. I could wake up 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and so I'm certainly tempted to do that, because it's a certain degree of anxiety when I do the talks, but not as much as it used to be, because I'm in more a habit of them now. I was thinking about structure, and what came to my mind is mother. And she was quite a rebel, and for good and for bad. I mean, we would walk into a restaurant, and the waitress would come over to the table, and my mother said, you need a flashlight in here in order to read the menu. And I was embarrassed because I was young, but also that kept her alive. Her prickliness and things like that. She was quite a person, and she studied self-taught. I don't think she finished high school. No, she was with a convent. Their father put them away in a convent. Said, goodbye, girls. I'm not coming back. He did eventually, but anyway. So I like that about my mother. I have a little bit of that in me too. So. I was going to tell you about some experiences that I had about breaking out of the box. And one was the Carson Daly Show. And this is repetition. Well, that's the mother of all learning, right? So it's good to repeat things. So, yeah, that time. My blind friend, Donald Mars, you've seen him on some of the videos. There was a video I did of him up from the mat. Up from the mat was him talking about his surviving pancreatic cancer, which is something that 93% of people don't survive, and I'm not sure if that's correct. It's pretty high up there. So he's been beyond 5 years now So thank you for watching that video, and you know, that was nice of him to be able to get out there and do it. He was breaking out of his box because he's someone who was not so quick to jump to the opportunities presented to him. Sometimes also he did many things in his life. He has done and continues to do things. But so why did I think of him? Oh, I know why I thought of him. So he was offering this opportunity to be on the Carson Daly Show, and of course he turned it down because it would be just too much of a handicap being blind, you know, to do that thing. It was a live show, so he passed it on to me, and I accepted it. You know, it was really crazy. I accepted it because I was afraid. Because I was afraid. Now, there's something in me that has always been there that way. I mean, rising to some kind of anxious moment, you know, and doing things. But that's why I did it. Honest to God, I'm not lying. I did it because I was afraid. I was terrified because the minute I accepted the invitation from the Carson Daly Show, I had terror. I said, what the hell did I do? So I got out there. It was unscripted. I knew a little bit about what I was going to be in terms of on the stage, and I could have developed more of a script, but I didn't talk about being spontaneous. But I didn't know what to say. I'm supposed to be the psychoanalyst analyzing his troubles with his girlfriend, which were apparently real at the time. So I was a foil to him, the comedian. But when I got out there, I walked out, and then, oh my God, as the band started to play, you know, just like in the movies, but this was the real thing. And Carson Daly's show was pretty big at that time. I think he's making a comeback now with his own new show. But anyway, I got out there, and I just did whatever I had to do. I didn't run like hell to the exit, but yeah, it was after the band played, and there's a real life audience. Of course, Mark, there's a real life audience, but they were out there, and so I became a foil of Andy Dick. But that was okay too. I mean, he kind of raked me across the coals, and I didn't know what to expect, so I did my best. And you know what? It didn't matter if I didn't do well. I did it, and that was what counts. You know, you can have a lot of fears, but it's action that's it's going to counter you taking an action, breaking out of the box. So that was a successful, if I had to do over again, his name was Andy Dick, the comedian. So if I had to do over again, I would have said, well, now I see how you got your name, Andy. I didn't think of it at the time. It doesn't matter. You know how you rerun the tapes over and over again? So I did that for a while there, but I didn't feel ashamed like when I did at the conference. You know, I didn't have that intense feeling. I said, man, you did something you were terrified of. And that's my suggestion to do in terms of what you can do about the fears that we have and being in the box for shame. So I got out of the box. I mean, I went back and I did some more conferences. I didn't let the shame get to me, even though it got to me. I didn't let it inhibit me from performing again and doing things that were frightening. I didn't let it. But it certainly was incapacitating for a while. And fear is a terrible thing, you know, if we let it get the best of it. I was just talking to a patient now on the phone consultation, and he was talking about how afraid he was of, he's doing a new venture, and he's doing very well. But he's frightened of all sorts of things, like he's not going to be able to do well. He's an imposter, fraud. You know, many people, we all have that feeling, right? I don't know if we all do, but many of us do. I've had it many times. I'm going to be found out that I'm a fraud. But that's a feeling. That's not a fact. He's a hard worker, my patient. He works hard. I mean, if he had to do something, I'm not breaking any confidentiality because no one knows. You don't know who the hell I'm talking about. But I need to talk about people to some extent. So these are real life such circumstances. It just happened, and what his feelings. He was being ruled by his feelings, and the more we're ruled by our feelings, you know, this is the whole YouTube is about the role of emotion in our lives, right? So feelings are very important, but feelings are not facts. His feeling that he's a fraud is not a fact. If you look at his history, he worked all his life, and he's been in treatment with me for some time, and I know him. I know how hard he works, and I've helped him work hard, but he always worked hard. It wasn't that. There's this fear that he's gonna be found out. And we have, perhaps many of you have that feeling. If somebody gets to know me, they're not going to like me. Right? So it's hard to be, even though we want to be discovered as authentically as we can, to be as real as we can, because we don't want to be caught up with the commercial kinds of things that people focus on in life. The car, the house, you know, the great clothes are nice to have, and it's nice to have an apartment, but if we lose those things, what do we have? We have confidence in ourselves, and we can overcome fear and do things even though we're afraid. That's a great confidence builder. A great confidence builder. Do things. So how you break out of the box? You just, like that baby in the crib did when I told you about the story I wrote. You know, he broke that crib. He just tore it down because he didn't want to be, and he also didn't, he didn't put himself in the box. He didn't put the butterfly in the box. He let it go free, and we got to let ourselves go free. Don't be reined in. It's only human to be controlled by our fear, but how you get out of it is you do things, you take an action. Yeah, and then there's the other part that says, well, you want help. So I said I'd help you break out of the box. Well, people say they want help, and they mean it, but there's also another part of them that doesn't want it too. And that's the fact to contend with. And that's where being into therapy comes into play, because we can say all we want about consciously what we want, and unconsciously there's another story. It may not be unconscious. You could be someone who is saying, well, I want to be successful in my job, and you can know, along with saying that you're very frightened of being successful, but you may not know why. So when in therapy, it's easier to be with a professional who can help you clear through the bramble and to acknowledge that you want to tear down the very success that you say you want, right? But that might not be very conscious at all. I mean, people might not know that they are afraid to be successful because then they have to perform, they feel, and the pressure on that. So they'd rather be a failure than try and fail. That's quite a dilemma, isn't it?